I'm sure you've been in this situation before. You go into the gym one day and you just feel like you just don't have it in you. All the exercises feel harder than usual, you can't focus, and you just feel like you can't push yourself as hard as you usually can. We all hate when this happens. No one likes to have shitty workouts. And so today, I thought I'll tell you guys a couple of easy things that you can do in order to minimize the chance that this happens to you, and also what you do want to do if this does still happen to you. But before I get into that, like always, let me just introduce myself real quickly. My name is Alphonse. Here we talk about how to maximize your results from your training with as little time spent in the gym and with as little risk of injury as possible. As you probably have noticed by now, I'm far from the biggest guy giving fitness advice on YouTube, but I'm an absolute super mega nerd when it comes to everything about exercise, and I've been completely obsessed with learning as much as I possibly can about it ever since I was 14 years old. And so if you're humble enough to listen to someone like me who isn't absolutely huge and might even be smaller than you who's watching this right now, then I could definitely teach you some stuff and help you to avoid having to spin your wheels, making little to no progress like I first did when I first started training and knew absolutely nothing about any of this stuff. Now, the first thing that you need to do in order to minimize the chance that you have a shitty workout is to make sure that your sleep and your diet is in check. Simply put, if you're sleeping like shit, you're probably gonna perform like shit, and if you're eating like shit, you're also probably gonna perform like shit. This is common sense, everyone understands this. Also, on a little side note, I would recommend you consume plenty of carbohydrates. Sorry to you low carb folks out there, but carbohydrates are very, very important for high intensity workouts, aka the exact type of training that you're going to be doing if you're trying to build muscle. And so I would recommend you consume plenty of carbohydrates, because if you don't, your workouts can also tend to feel a little flat. The second thing that you're gonna want to keep in check in order to minimize the chance that you have shitty workouts is your recovery. Now, this of course ties into your sleep and your diet, because your sleep and your diet heavily affect your recovery, but it's also important to get enough rest days in between your workouts. Now, the important thing to understand here is that the fatigue from exercise isn't just local to the muscle that's being worked. It's not just that your biceps get tired when you train your biceps, it is also systemic. It affects the entire system, the entire body. And so if you haven't rested enough and you're still not feeling quite 100% because you're still fatigued from the last workout that you performed, then you obviously won't be able to perform at your best if you go and work out now. And so if you're not feeling quite 100% and you feel like you wouldn't be able to generate the necessary focus and intensity for your workout on a given day where you maybe thought that you were supposed to work out, then don't go work out. Go work out tomorrow instead when you're a little bit more recovered and will be able to perform at your best. Now, an extremely good guideline that I would recommend everyone who's watching this who is natural should follow is that when it comes to rest days in between workouts, never work out 2 days in a row, because I'd be confident to say that pretty much 99.99% of all naturals on this earth, if you're actually training intensely enough that you're actually stimulating your muscles to grow and you're generating any kind of significant fatigue which is required in order to stimulate muscle growth, then you won't be able to recover if you're training multiple days in a row. So at least never train 2 days in a row. The third thing that you can do in order to minimize the chance to have a shitty workout, and also something that I do personally actually before every single workout that I do, is that I take a moment to focus my attention before the workout. So the way that I do it is that I usually just sit in the locker room for a minute or two or a couple of minutes before my workout, and I just sit there and I just focus on my breath, and I try to forget absolutely everything else that is going on and only focus on what's going on with my breath. And if you do this, you're gonna notice that in the beginning a bunch of different things are gonna come up. You're gonna be thinking about, oh, what am I gonna do after this workout, or what I'm gonna eat when I get home, and a bunch of different stuff. You're gonna be distracted by sounds and a bunch of random thoughts. But the key here is to just keep refocusing your attention on your breath until you feel like you are able to, consistently maintain your attention, your focus on what's happening with your breath, and there's not a lot of other, thoughts and other distractions that are distracting you anymore. And what you then want to do after a couple of minutes of doing this, when you hopefully feel like you are able to pretty consistently maintain your focus on your breath without getting distracted a lot, is that you then take that focus that you now have on your breath, and when you then go into the gym to perform your workout, you take that focus and you redirect it towards the workout. And what this is going to help you to do, especially as you get better and better at it over time, as you do it more and more before your workouts, is that it's going to help you to be able to shut out all the other noise in the gym that can be very distracting when you're trying to work out, and that can take away your attention from the exercises you're performing. Now, the next thing that you're going to want to avoid in order to minimize the chance that you have a shitty workout is to avoid doing a bunch of excessive unnecessary volume. If your workout contains too many exercises and sets for you, then after a certain point you're going to start to get kind of like brain fog, and you're not going to be able to focus as well. And if you're not able to make it through your workout without this happening to you, and increasing the rest in between your exercises doesn't seem to help, then I would recommend you decrease the number of exercises and or sets in your workout. I would especially look at removing redundant exercises that are targeting muscle groups that are already being effectively worked in other exercises in the workout. Like, for example, if you're doing 2 types of bicep curls in your workout, that really isn't going to be necessary. 1 type of bicep curl is really all you're going to need. If you're doing that exercise properly with proper form to true momentary muscle failure, then you're going to have recruited and stimulated all of the available muscle fibers in that muscle, and doing another exercise for the biceps isn't going to provide any additional benefit. Or for example, also if you're doing a workout where you're doing maybe 2 pushing movements and 2 pulling movements in that workout, like maybe a pull down and a row and maybe a chest press and an overhead press in the same workout, then adding an additional tricep extension and bicep curl into that workout really isn't going to make any significant difference on your gains the vast majority of the time. You're really just adding a bunch of unnecessary volume there and generating a bunch of unnecessary fatigue by adding those additional bicep curl and tricep extension exercises. And so in that case, the bicep curl and the tricep extension would be redundant exercises. Now, moving on to the last point, which is going to be, what do you do if you still find yourself having a shitty workout? So even if you do all of the things now that I have mentioned previously, and you try to do them as consistently as possible, sometimes your sleep is going to get messed up for whatever reason, or something else is going to happen, and you're still going to have the occasional shitty workout. If this happens to you and you go into the gym and you get to that first exercise and you just feel like, man, I just don't have it in me today, then I would recommend that instead of just pushing through like most people would say, that you actually cut the workout right there and you go home and rest. Let me explain why. The reason I would recommend you just cut the workout right there if this happens to you, and that you just go and perform the workout tomorrow instead, is because that if you feel like you can't focus when you were supposed to work out, you feel like you just don't have the focus, you can't focus on the exercises, you're just not there, you're getting distracted, you can't generate the intensity, you just feel like you don't have it in you that day, then less focus is going to mean greater chance of you doing some kind of mistake during any of your exercises, which is going to mean a higher risk of injury, and we absolutely do not want you to injure yourself. You also won't be able to push as hard and train your muscles as effectively if you're feeling like this, and you would be better off just going tomorrow instead, where you're a little bit more recovered and are able to perform hopefully at your best. Now, I know some people might say that this is like soft advice, that this advice is soft and you shouldn't follow it because it's like, oh come on man, just man up, just go through it, just do it anyway, just do the workout. But I don't agree with this, and the people who are going to say this, I think, are generally going to be people who see exercise as some kind of metaphor for life, which it is not. Someone like, for example, David Goggins would definitely say that this advice is soft and that you shouldn't follow it, and that you should just man up and do the workout anyway, because discipline. And yes, discipline is very, very good to have in your life. You should definitely be disciplined, and I agree with a lot of things that David Goggins says, but that's besides the point. The point I'm making here is that when we are exercising like we are doing here, and we're actually trying to build muscle, we have an objective that we are trying to achieve. We're not just exercising exercising for the sake of doing something hard. And so when we exercise, we actually have an objective. Our objective is to stimulate increases in muscle size and muscle strength, and to do so as safely and as effectively and as efficiently as we can. And if taking an extra day of rest in between our workouts helps us to achieve this objective more effectively, then we should do it. And so that is why I recommend that if you do have a shitty workout and you go into the gym, like I said, and you get to that first exercise and you just feel like, man, I can't focus, I just don't have it in me today, I just can't push hard, then I would just recommend you cut the workout right there, you go home, you rest, and you go back and do the workout tomorrow instead, if you have the option to do so. But with that being said, that's all for this video. I really hope you guys liked it, and I really hope you guys found it useful. If you found this video even a little bit useful, then please don't forget to leave at least a like on this video. It really supports the channel and I highly appreciate it. And if you want to see more videos like this from me in the future with useful fitness tips, and you want to also support the channel even more, then also don't forget to click that subscribe and ring that notification bell so you can be notified the next time I upload. But that being said, I'll see you all in the next video next time.